Hello and welcome to this build video for the Linkz. So depending on what you buy, you either just get this, if you only bought the PCB, or if you ordered the PCB from, if you made them yourself, you have the panel and two PCB boards, one for the jacks and one for the rest of the components, basically. And if you bought a kit from me, then you might get a kit of stuff like this, and either a dip, what is this, 14-pin socket and a TL074, or you get one of these SMD components, the OPA something. I don't remember now what it's called. It's the only component that you can't find a through-hole variant of, and that's why I opted for the TL074 instead, which should be good enough for this circuit. But if you want to have the real deal, really the correct component, then it is this one component that you need to do SMD, and that's on this board right here. So it is overlapping this one. So it's really important that if you choose to use the SMD version, you don't solder this one in place, the deal socket, because that one, then you have these legs here that will be in the way of putting this one flush to the board, and thus being able to solder this in place. So important not to put this one on if you happen to get one of these in the kits. I'm trying to have these so you either get these two or this one, so just to make that confusion less. In this video I'll begin with this, but I also have made one before where I solder this SMD version in place, so you'll see both how you could use that. So we can remove all the jacks for now, because those will be made later, and also this pin header and the female pin headers we move to the side. Just try to make a bit of order in the chaos. So there should be 3 LEDs. You can also move them to the side. And all the hex nuts, of course. And then we shouldn't have that many components left to work with. We can also put all the ICs away, the through-hole ones. We're not going to solder them in place. We have these sockets for that. And gonna get my soldering iron working, which is always a challenge because I've done something to it, or I got a Monday version. So putting this one away over here as well. And we're gonna start with this small one with all the components on, or most of the components on. And as usual, I'm going to start with I'm actually going to start with the sockets. So again, very important if depending on if you have the SMD version or the through-hole version of the quad op amp, you put this in place or not. So we have the through-hole and we're gonna put this in place. There is an indentation in the plastic of the socket, and there's also an indentation in the silk screen on the PCB. So that's the way it should be turned. There was one leg that was a bit bent there. So, and the same here, there's an indentation in the 8-pin deal sockets, and they're all facing that way. So we just place them like so. The indentation is there. Line it up. And that one, indentation. There. So to solder these, you need to turn it around, and that's always good to just use one of the PCBs you have, either this one or this one, doesn't matter. There's less large holes in this one, so we just place it on the ground. Actually, let's do that. And I also need to turn on the fan. So that will be a bit of noise. I'm sorry about that. So starting to just add one pin just to keep them in place. There we go. I need glasses. That's how old I've become. It has nothing to do with age, I know. Well, it has. In my case, it has to do with age. There's a place here, make sure that you don't, so there's the SMD version and the through-hole version. Make sure that you don't overlap these, so you don't get any connection in between those. That will make it, that will make a short between a few of the pins because they don't line up as that. Of course, the SMD version is half the size. If you instead want to use the SMD OPA 4171 component, then I would again suggest that you start with this component when the board is completely empty, because that will make life a lot easier for you. Step one is don't lose the component. It's very small and slippery. Second of all, a very good tweezer is very nice to have when working with SMD, and make sure you have it so the tweezer doesn't point out, so you can really put it flush towards the board. And then you have which way to orient it. So there's a line on the component itself written, there's text written, and there's a white line. That white line shows which side has pin number 1. So always on the left side of the text. So that's the top, and there's a line, and this is pin number 1. Usually you can also see the left side is a bit slanted, that the right side isn't. So that's also a way of knowing that this is the left side and that is pin number 1. On the silk screen you have a dot. You actually have 2 dots, one there besides U6 and one there on the silk screen of the package. So that is pin number 1. And how you begin, so it's good to have a iron that has one flat side and one pointy side, like this one. This one is 45-degree angle, so you can both get in and really get good touching surface on the pads, but also you can get in and when it's kind of tricky to touch things here. It's good to have a smaller kind of solder. This 0.5 millimeter would be better, but just for the sake of it I'm going to use the bigger one, 0.8 millimeter, just to make it hard for me, but also because that's probably what you have at your house or in your workshop, a bit thicker wire. So you start by just picking a corner and just adding a bit of solder to the pad in that corner, like so. And then we take the SMD in our tweezer and try to line up as good as you can to the pads, making sure that you are flush to the surface, except maybe in this corner because there's a big lump of solder in the way. Try to center it. This is not easy, I know, but once you think you have a nice I don't have it nicely centered. Wait, let me trying to show on camera at the same time is difficult. So there, good line up, and then you just heat up the solder. Try to, now it will move around a bit, but if you try to hold it still it should get stuck there. And then we try to not break it and remove the tweezer, and now it's there. It might be a bit slanted. You can move it around a bit. There, I moved it around a lot, but you should be able to move it a bit. Just be careful. The legs can't take as much stress as anything. If it's too much, you can use your finger. Just make sure you don't burn yourself. So you can just heat up that one leg again, and now it's really perfect lineup. So yeah, using your fingers you can do that as well. Now we just need to do similar to all the other one. We just need to add a little bit of solder to each one, and I choose to push down with the flat surface to heat up both the pin and the surface pad, and just a wee bit of solder, not too much. Then you could get a bridge. Let's make a bridge just because. There we have a big blob like a bridge. You fix that by either you just heat it up and move away like I did there, and now we have a very nice solder there. So you can do that as well. Yeah, I got another bridge there. Yeah, I think I'm happy there. And this side is really close to the power connector, so you don't want to smear out too much here, because then you might block these and you might get a connection between these two, and you don't want that. So let's try to be a bit more careful here. Now I'm using the other side of the soldering iron to get in close like so, and then we use the flat side again, clean it. And despite my mediocre efforts, I still managed to get a blob in there in a hole of the power connector. So we need to remove that. There we go. And making sure there's no shorts. And we, just to be extra sure, we take out this one and make sure that there's no short to any of the pins to these power pins here. There should be, yeah, that's fine. Then we can also check the pins. So this pin over here corresponds to the TL074 over here. So we should be able to check it all the way, making sure that they are correctly aligned. And then this one goes here, that one there, this one there, that one there. And then these ones we need to check on this side. So number 3 there, 4, 5, yeah. So this one is now good to go, and now we can continue with the other build. With that in place, we go back to this one. So now we can just hold this in place like so. Like so. And we should be able to put everything else in place. So you can use, if you want to, you can use the schematics and make sure you put everything correctly. But I have added all the values of the components, so you can actually just look at the silk screen and you will know where to put the stuff. So here's 3 1K resistors. We put those in place. Some of these are standing because it's so crammed, this PCB, so to have it be able to fit it all, you need to put them standing up. So that's why you bend them like this. And then you find, so we have a 1K resistor here, we have a 1K resistor there, and one is here. So we just do like this, because standing, usually you can put standing resistors, or when they're not standing, when they're lying down, you can solder them from the top side, but when they're standing up, one of the solder points is blocked by the standing resistor there. So that's why I just put them, make sure they're stuck with a little bit of solder, and then when we have all the other resistors in place, we turn it around and do all the soldering on the back. 51K resistors. There's a bunch of those. Let's see. So there's one. Next to it. There's a question mark on some of those. Yeah, I just forgot to remove that from the silk screen. They are 51 ohm resistors. It was a bit difficult value to find, so that's why the question mark. Not difficult to find. It's an unusual value to use. Usually you have 47 ohms, or what's the other one? 56 ohms. That's the two standard ones. Let's see, so this one was from this side, so you can just add them one by one like this, because it was a bit crammed in here, so that's why I removed the one a short while. And we have one more actually. Let's find that one as well. There is one or two here, but it's not that one. So 51 down here. Out on the side you have 51. And then we have a bunch of 100K resistors. Some even lying down. And then we have standing up one. We start over here. There's one. Yeah, and this is another one of those places where it's really quite crammed. I'm going to put that one in place first, because I see that, well, I'm left-handed as well, so it might be a different way that is easier for you to solder from which side. Like this one would have been difficult, but now when I put that one in place, it's difficult to get in here. That's all the ones, so we continue up here. So put that one in place first. That's it. And then this one, that would have been in the way for me. But not if you come in from the right. Oh, here's one. Missed that one. So yeah, which to put first? I like to put the sockets in first because they are lower and you can get them on more straight when you don't have all these resistors in place. But like this, it's a bit in the way. I can't, so I have to put this in like so. It's a bit difficult to get in there, and I'm there somehow. And we have two more, and they're up here, both of them. There's one, and there is one. So now we need to make sure they are really stuck here. So I'm going to cut the finish one off while we go along. if you're uncertain of one, just go over it one more time. It's better to have a good soldering point than one that you're not sure of. This one looked a bit sketchy. you want them all to be like a mountaintop with slopes like so, not bulging. You want them inwards. That's the best ones. Then you know it's a good connection between both the lead of the component and the solder pad of the PCB. Right, so let's see. We have a lot of legs in the way here. So we have these diodes. These are the ONE N5818 or 17. It's not that important. They're just to make sure that if you plug the power in the wrong way, it will save the circuit. So on the diode, there's a big black area and a small silvery area. And the silvery area is a line, so to say, and if you look at the silk screen, there's one side that has two lines, both facing that way. So you line up the silver with the double line of the diode. Like so. So now the silver is facing that way. And we can solder this in place. There we go. We have two more resistors here. So this one is the 10 mega ohm resistor. That one is on the other board over there. So we leave that for later. And these other ones, so here's the 10 microfarad capacitors. They are polarized. So you need to add them, so they're over here. You need to add them. There is, if you look at the silk screen, there's one area that is a bit more white than the other one, and you have this white strip over here. So you line that up. The other one has a plus sign. The black area has a plus sign, and that's the long legs. So these are really well marked which way they should go in. If you put these in the wrong way, when you turn the power on, you will hear a small poof and it will smell bad. Just saying. These, if you hold a finger there, turn it around and just bend the legs a bit so they stay in place. You can also just place it on the table because they're quite tall. And these are quite small, so just I've made the soldering area a bit larger on that way, so it should be a bit easier to solder them, but make sure that, because they're really close to each other, so just make sure that you don't, these legs don't need to be in the way, just make sure that you don't get a short in between the legs of these components. It's also good to put these legs away from each other. It makes it easier not to get a short. And looking, so if we look towards the light, we see there's nothing. There is no bridge, solder bridge there. Yeah, this one, the 33K resistor. That's, now we turn this around. Let's keep it the same way around all the time. So the 33K resistor is down here. If that's down, let's add that. It's a really tiny one. There we go. So then these green ones, these are 10p picofarad capacitors. They are a bit wide like this, but if you have one of these tools, I don't know what they're called, you can just straighten out these legs, because there's a bend in the leg, and if you straighten that out by just like so, then they will fit perfectly. So 1p down there, and the other 10p is right there. So let's fix that one too. Straightening the legs like so. So just bending them out a bit to keep them in place. Also the other leg of the 33K resistor, and these two. That one is yeah. then we have the 100 nanofarad capacitors left. So let's add them. There. Just put them in. Bending the legs again, so they kind of stay somewhat. These follow the ICs, so it's for the power, making sure that the power is as clean as possible for the op amps. I have the soldering iron at 350 degrees. I think that's quite good. It's quite fast to solder in place, but still not too overwhelming for the circuit, I think. I tried 300, that didn't work, so I'm at 350 now, and that's very seldom any problems with that. So last component on this board, well, we have the female pen headers as well. The power connector, there's a jack in the side here, or an indentation, and there's also an indentation in the silk screen. So you just line them up like so, and then we turn it around, and we should be able to solder this in place. And again, this is also another place where it's really close to the SMD component, so even though it's not in place, you really need to make sure that you don't solder one of the power pins to the SMD pins. Having a small tip on the soldering iron is a good thing to have. I have one of these flat, so I can either have it down and have a big surface area, or push it down like this to have a really small surface area. And it looks good. No bridges. There. Let's see. Let's add the surface. So we move this to the side for now, and we continue with this one. So let's start by adding this 100 or 110 mega ohm resistor there up here in the corner. Add that. That might also be a thing. Like, I've chosen to put it in this order, so the ring shows where I want the resistor to be. If you find that the opposite way is easier for you to solder, then that's totally fine. And that should have been said for the other board for all those other resistors. Oh, it's too late now. I guess if you haven't watched this video before you start soldering, which, yeah. So now all these jacks, and these are set in a way so they share ground pin with the one below it. So you need to push them into the same hole. The ground pin of those two and those two, and so on and so forth. So we just add, there's 12 jacks in total, so quite a few. And that's also what makes this module expensive. It's all the jacks. It's almost always like this is just a few dollars for all these components, but then these, they add up. So $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 in just jacks, because Donkey Kong jacks is really expensive. There we have them. Let's not add the LEDs now. Let's just focus on the jacks. So by just pressing around like so, we make sure they're good in good place. We can also look from above and see, so no one is sticking out on the side. So that one is a bit skewed. That one. Better. So, say I like to do this, to hold it like so. And then we can solder this. I start with the ground because now they're all stuck there. And again, we can make sure it's okay. So here's the thing now, these headers could be in the way, or the sockets is in the, or the jacks is in the way, afterwards. Maybe, thinking about it, it would have been better to do these sockets first. But guess I did things the hard way today. I think that was all. Yes. All right. So before we put the LEDs on, I'm actually going to put these headers on. And yeah, doesn't matter. I like to have the female ones on the front and the male ones on the back PCB, but it really doesn't matter. So let's cut this in the correct lengths. You can either just get your little nail in there and break it off like so, or you can just use a tool and do like that. No judgment. You do as you do. You do you. A lot of things can be done in many different ways, as always. So we turn this around, and you see it's up at the, let's see, we're out of frame here. So it's up here on the edge of the PCB, and that's of course where you put this edge of the PCB. So you put it on like so. And it should look like that. And then you just put it like this, standing like this, and it should line up quite well. Like make sure that you see if you push it, it should fall back to standing straight. So not using too much force. Let's start in the middle actually. There, one. There. And again, this could be a bit tricky. So now it's a bit more rigid now with just 2 pins in place. So here's again where the thin tip is good to have. Out here on the side it's easier. Okay, what happened? Come on. And this one. I need to... it's not enough. There we go. Sometimes when you do like this, you don't get in contact with both the solder pad and the lead, and then it's a bit... then it doesn't get stuck to each other. This side is a bit more wobbly in the beginning, so we can do this. Now it's stuck, so now we can put it on this again. And it'll be a bit easier. Now here's one of these places where it's good not to have the LED in the way, so we have a bit more wiggle room. And final ones. There. So the final components should be the LEDs then. And the LEDs are dual colors. And here comes, well, I don't know, a controversy. I followed the original schematics as it should be. Doing that will make the two top sections show red when positive voltage and green with negative voltage, and the lower one is green with positive voltage and red with negative. I'd like to have them all green with positive voltage and red with negative voltage. This is a choice, of course, so therefore, the LEDs have a flat side which is towards the shorter legs of them, and they're supposed to be with a short leg downward. You see on the silk screen there's a bit of flat surface there. I choose on the top two LEDs to put it the wrong side around. So with that, oh yeah, we need to take these apart now. We can't have them on like that. So the long leg downwards towards the jacks on the top one, the long leg downwards in the middle one. So those two are the wrong way according to the original schematics by Emily, and then the lower one with the short leg down like so. That's how I like it, because then the colors will be correct to my taste. Okay, let's get this on. It's a bit crammed there. There we go. And we flip it around, and these should fall forward, and you just guide them through the hole there. And we can even put these on. A few of these to keep it in place. few nuts. One up top and one down below. The camera went offline there. So added these two nuts. That was the last thing I did. And turn around again, make sure they're in there. And now we can solder the LEDs in place. Bit close to the female header, should be fine. And we are done soldering. We should now can put this together again. We should always take a multimeter with the correct probes. Let me find those. Put it in continuity mode or diode mode, so they should beep if there's a short, and then just on the power connector you make sure that there's no connection in between plus and minus 12 volts. There's no connection between ground and minus 12 volts, and there's nothing in between plus and ground. Of course, between ground pins there should be. So, good. Seems there's no short in the power line at least, so that's always good. So then we add our ICs. Just straightening out the legs here. Makes it easier. There. Whoops. So you should be able, in the holes here, you should be able to see that this one should be a TL074, 72. That's the LM358. So this is a TL072. Depending on the IC, there's either, so let's show, this is the LM358. There is a small indentation there. That should go with the indentation on the silk screen and on the plastic IC holder. So if we put the LM358 first, it should go like that. On this TL072 there is no indentation. Instead there's a small indentation, like a small dot embossed in the silicone, or in the package, and that one is pin 1, so that should also be in the orientation of the indentation. So because pin 1 is always that pin from the indentation, and that pin right there. So we put it in that direction. This one also has that small embossed dot, TL072 there. And the TL074 has a big indentation here on the side or in the middle, and that should go over there. Interestingly, this one also has a small round indentation there in the middle. I don't know what that means, but here you go on this indentation. So a bit snug, close to the power input. And this should be our finished module. So now we go to the rack and plug it in, and it shouldn't show anything basically until you put a signal in here. All right, of course, we need to add all the hex nuts. That also takes quite some time. We can turn off this one. And this one. Some peace and quiet for this last episode. Right, to the modular. All right, so I'm going to put it here next to my marbles. That's a good checking to make sure it works. We connect it quickly, like so, and make sure nothing got really hot in that short time. If it did, if one of the ICs specifically is hot to the touch, something is wrong. But it wasn't, so plug it in. Doesn't show anything. So we take this Y signal out from the marbles, because that one will give us both green and red, and it should follow the red one now. And this is what I talked about before, that these two LEDs are mixed or changed. So let's take that. So this is 1, 2, 3 multiple. So we take that into the input of this, that is both multiple and mixer, and the output from that into one of the inputs of the mixer down there. And now we should see all 3 LEDs following this red LED. Right now, when it turns green, they all turn green. This is how I like it. The original, these two would be red right now. But this is, so you know, it works. And now you have this really nifty utility module in your rack. Congratulations on building this, and have lots of fun patching. Take care. Bye.